The League of Legends professional esports scene is full of some amazingly talented players and even some pretty big personalities. There are tons of pros that are idolized by the rest of the community. Everybody knows guys like Faker, Caps, Reckless, Doinb, Bjergsen, and Jensen. How about those veterans and retired players that we all know and love and still like to remember about? Guys like Xpeke and Alex Ich. Even more interestingly, some retired players are still active in the community and are just as popular as ever by creating content. Guys like I Will Dominate with a very successful YouTube channel and stream prove that even years after you retire, you can still be relevant in this game. Many of the game's top professional players have also been known to tear up solo queue. Faker became famous not just because of his achievements at the pro level, but also because of his reign of terror in Korean solo queue. And many of you will know the story about a player that never went pro, but instead is known for being the greatest solo queue player ever, Apto or Dopa. In fact, my most viewed video is about the guy. The story of Dopa is incredibly unique, unlike any other. He's a guy that's made rank 1 on the most competitive region look easy. He's been rank 1 on the Super Chinese server. He was even offered a contract to play in the professional leagues, yet he turned it down. Someone so talented in ranked solo queue, someone so gifted at the game, the fact that he's never won a world championship has not stopped people from discussions about him being the greatest league player ever. But what if I told you that there's a league player out there that's done some similar things, yet he's not talked about as much? What if I told you that there's a player who has done things thought to be impossible, with some of the most unbelievable accomplishments, not just for League of Legends, but in any video game ever? There is a player who rivals Dopa's status as the all-time best solo queue player, and just like him, he hasn't yet translated it to the pros.
For years now, when you think of the world's best solo queue player, one man's name comes to mind, leaps and bounds above the rest, and that is Dopa. Recently, however, a European player is definitely trying to rival him for that top spot, and that is of course Magifelix.
Magifelix was born on February 27th in the year 2000, and at only 20 years old, it's safe to say that his pro League of Legends career is still getting started, and there's still a lot of potential for him. So whatever you learn about his pro career from this video, just understand that there's a shot that he could still be one of Europe's next great pro players. His tag Magifelix comes from the word Magi being added right in front of his real name, which is Felix. He hails from Sweden, which is a country that has also produced some other important faces in the league scene, the most notable probably being Reckless. His pro career began at 16 years old when he joined a team known as Euronics Gaming. He played mid lane for them for most of the year during 2016. They would compete in the ESL Meisterschaft Spring and Summer Cups, as well as other various minor league professional tournaments. In May of that year, Magifelix and his teammates would place in the summer qualifiers for the EU Challenger Series. If they won that series, his team would qualify for the Academy League, which is just one step below the LEC, or at that time known as the EU LCS. However, they would lose a best of 5 to Misfits, a team that of course eventually did make it into the LEC. For the next few years from ages 17 to 19, he would hop around between a couple of teams. His first taste of EU Academy was with a team called Red Bulls, and they even made it into the Challenger Series playoffs. Even if it was a somewhat small accomplishment compared to other pro gamers, at such a young age for him to achieve even a little bit of success must have really motivated him. In 2018, he played for 2 more teams. In the first half of the year, it was with a team called the Movistar Riders, and in the second half of the year is with a team known as Youth Crew Esports. So finally, come January of 2019, he would land a spot in the organization that he's been with now for almost 2 years, Fnatic. His time with Fnatic, both on their academy roster and for the main roster, is something that we will come back to, because when it comes to Magifelix's story, the most interesting part does not have to do with what he's accomplished on stage, in front of a crowd, with hundreds of thousands or millions of people around the world watching. Instead, it's about the things that he's done in the comfort of his own home.
You've been hyped as a solo queue monster, of course, for a very long time. You used to have multiple accounts in Challenger. I'm not sure if you currently do too.
Well, I do have 2 accounts in Challenger.
Oh, only 2.
Only 2, yeah.
This particular player has been able to get 5 separate accounts all into top 20 Challenger. Across these 5 Challenger accounts, he has roughly 5,000 league points.
Sometimes we forget just how different it is to play on stage and compete at a tournament like the World Championship versus just sitting at your computer in your own bedroom. It's not just the pressure of the tournament itself and what's at stake, but it's also the crowd noise, the atmosphere, the fact that it might not be your normal gaming setup that you're used to, and that if you play and kind of screw up or play poorly during a game, millions and millions of people will talk about it. This is why solo queue accomplishments, while still being incredibly impressive and very important, mind you, just don't really hold the same weight as what a pro player does in competition. For example, Caps is a multi-time rank 1 player on the European ladder, which is an amazing feat that does add to his legacy as a player, but when people talk about Caps, it's not really something they ever bring up. What's far more impressive about Caps is that he made 2 straight World Finals, and this year they also made top 4. If you were to argue that you think Caps is the best Western player, it would be because of his international success on the game's most important stage, not really because of his solo queue ranked achievements. Let's then throw everything I just said right out the window and talk about this guy. For many years in League of Legends, Dopa was the only example of a player that did not need to go pro to be heavily praised by everybody. Most people agreed that he was world class. His most impressive skill wasn't just that he was a great mid laner that could play a nasty twisted fate, but also that he was elite in many different roles of the game, something that people couldn't even comprehend about his greatness.
Sick thing about Abdo is he can play practically every single role in the game and be good enough to get accounts super high up in Challenger. Now that's not even the case for Faker.
Dopa was regarded as the all-time best solo queue player, until Felix decided to give him a little run for his money. In 2018, Donghua posted a video to his YouTube channel titled "How Rank 1 Player Got 5,000 LP in Challenger." He would interview an 18-year-old Magifelix, who at the time was putting on an absolute tear in European ranked. He held the rank 1 spot on the ladder and began gunning for the all-time LP record for the most LP that you could possibly gain. While being rank 1, he also grinded his other accounts, having 5 accounts in top 20 Challenger. He was 1/4 of top 20 players all by himself. The screenshot I was able to find from the time was a little bit after he lost rank 1, but it's still incredible to see this level of domination. In the top 8, he was rank 3, rank 6, rank 7, and rank 8. Then if you go down to rank 17, guess what? There he is again. Absolutely incredible. During his interview with Donghua, he spoke on a couple of key points that he likes to follow when playing solo queue. One of his big talking points was about consistency, and this is something that I resonated with. He strives to do his absolute best in every single game, and while most league players will have 1 or 2 bad games, or an off game where they got a little bit tilted, maybe they got camped by the jungler and give up, Magifelix doesn't have those types of games. If you want to consistently reach your peak, you have to consistently play to your full potential. You can't just give up, lose the mental game, rage split, or even AFK. Over the next year and a half, Felix would grind solo queue like he usually does. MidBeast has multiple videos on his channel breaking down some of his gameplay at times in which he reached rank 1. In January of 2019, he held rank 1 playing Galio. Some of these KDAs were just absurd, by the way, 19-1 in a high challenger game on Galio of all champions. Later that same year during the summer, MidBeast covered Magifelix once again as he was climbing towards rank 1 and eventually did hit rank 1 playing a lot of Karma mid. The contrast between the years 2018 and 2019 for all of his solo queue games is really interesting to look at. In 2018, he was playing almost exclusively the hard carry champions you might expect: Yasuo, Aurelia, Akali, Ryze, Aatrox. To be fair, at the time those champions were meta and considered overpowered, but still, playing at such a high level and having that mechanical ability just adds to his resume as a player. It's never going to be easy to play those champions at a challenger level, even if you're a challenger mid laner. Being able to play both types of champions at a rank 1 level just shows you how good Magifelix really is, which leads me to what he would do in 2020. Now, League of Legends streamers have always had a problem when making a career out of this game, because the everyday grind of solo queue after years and years of streaming it can get pretty repetitive and also frustrating. Not to mention, the super long queue times they have to go through isn't really engaging for an audience of thousands of people expecting constant gameplay. So to get around this, for a long time, a very popular form of content has been unranked to challenger streams. But just as before, that got a little repetitive. So again, the streamers innovated. Instead, they started to mix things up and give themselves an additional challenge, much harder this time.
Dude, we are going to be doing ADC to Challenger, just backseat gaming.
This year has seen the popularity of role-swapping challenges skyrocket to the top of Twitch. Tyler One's jungle-only account became famous after 1,800 games when he finally reached Challenger. What makes this type of content so engaging for a viewer is that you get to see these high-level players actually put into an uncomfortable position. Learning a new role is very hard, and doing it in front of an audience can be even harder. Viewers feel more connected to the streamer as they will quickly be humbled by how much they will mess up in their gameplay compared to playing on their main role when they've been mastering it for years. When doing these challenges, it's been very hard for them to hold their main account's rank when they swap to their off-role account. This player has to put so much time into learning the new role that it requires their full undivided attention. Having 2 challenger accounts at the same time for 2 different roles would be a very impressive feat, wouldn't it? Well, a few months back, Felix one-upped every single challenger player and did something thought to be impossible. On June 28th of 2020, a post would make the front page of the League of Legends subreddit titled "Magifelix reaches Challenger with every single role." On this journey, his list of accomplishments nearly smashes everything he's done in solo queue so far. It's not just that he proved that he is the ultimate player by being able to play all 5 roles at a challenger level, but these accounts were done all at the same time. Think about how hard this must be mentally. You would have to learn how to swap back into the support mindset right after you play mid lane, or maybe you were playing jungle for the entire week to get that account into challenger, already an incredibly hard thing to do, then you have to quickly start playing top lane. Obviously, Felix was not a stranger to having 5 separate challenger accounts at one time, but doing it for each of the roles in the game just blows my mind. The amount of skill required to do this doesn't just mean that Magifelix is one of the all-time best League of Legends players ever, at least at a solo queue level, but this kind of rivals some of the best accomplishments in gaming history. There really is no way to overhype this. There is nothing overrated about Magifelix as a player. And the crazy thing is, he could in theory play any role at the competitive level, because his top lane account peaked at rank 2 on the ladder, and his jungle account was also high challenger. So in addition to everything else here, he also had these accounts not just in the bottom part of challenger. Let's talk about a really interesting time for Felix, where in the high-elo community he became a little bit of a villain for a while, at least to a certain extent. You see, for high-elo players, normally they become infamous either through their toxicity, maybe their in-game behavior like trolling or rage quitting games, or potentially even what they post on social media. But for Magifelix, he has never been a toxic player. Instead, during the fall of 2018, he was hated in high elo for being just too good. This was during another one of his incredible grinds to control the top of the ladder, and on September 20th of that year, a Reddit post was made detailing how Magifelix broke the Europe West Challenger ladder and that there was a 400 plus LP difference between rank 1 and rank 2. Also, just as a little side note, not only did he hold rank 1 by more than 400 LP, but he was also rank 3, rank 11, and rank 13 at this time. You know, as you do. Challenger players started posting to Twitter and Reddit the fact that they were only gaining around 10 to 13 LP for the games that they won, and they were losing about 20, 23, 25, maybe even as high as 30 on losses. Essentially, it made it impossible to climb. So what happened here? Well, as you probably know, League of Legends operates on the MMR or ELO system, and the better your MMR is, the more LP that you will gain if you win, and you will lose less if you're defeated. For the most part, the rank 1 and the rank 2 player, since they are just one rank apart, are typically pretty close in LP. At the time of recording, for example, the North America rank 1 player is only 8 LP ahead of rank 2, and very close behind Revenge in rank 3, he's just a couple of points behind him as well. With Magifelix being more than 400 points ahead of rank 2, and with him having an insanely dominant 62% win rate at rank 1, it meant that the system really wasn't sure what to do with him and the rest of the players in Challenger. The rank 50 player is technically just 49 spots behind him, but in reality in this case he was also about 1,000 LP behind him too. The Challenger ladder almost always caps out around 1300 to 1400 LP, and it's pretty rare that a Challenger player will reach the 1500 LP threshold, as they start to gain very little for their wins and they lose a lot more on their losses. But Felix was just way too good, and he kept winning, and winning, and winning, and winning, and winning, and he couldn't stop winning. When you combine everything that Felix has done in solo queue, surely he should be a top tier player for a professional team. I mean, this guy hit Challenger in all 5 roles simultaneously. He held nearly every spot in top 5 Challenger by himself. He broke LP records. He's a multi-time rank 1 player. He hit Challenger on the Super Chinese server, and he even reached top 10 in Korea in less than a month. So why in the world have so many people not heard of him? For the last couple of years, Magifelix was the Academy mid laner for Fnatic. His performance in the Academy League has never been bad, he is totally worthy of being there, but it also hasn't necessarily blown away any organizations with his gameplay. In 2019, he was given a shot for Fnatic when Reckless was out for a bit and Nemesis would role swap down to ADC, but that game didn't go very well. The unfortunate part is that while he lost his very first start, it wasn't really his fault at all. Bwipo's Rengar top lane basically griefed the game, and Nemesis is not an ADC main. That being said, it's also not fair to blindly act like he wouldn't have been given another chance if he was popping off in Academy or even in scrims. I'm fairly confident that Fnatic has scrimmed with him plenty of times, and if he did well enough there, I'm sure that he would have started more games. For 2021, Fnatic announced that Nemesis would not be the starting mid laner, which led some people to believe that they would be moving on with Magifelix and he would finally become the full-time starter. However, we now know that they signed Niski. On November 18th, he posted his first tweet in nearly a year, and for the 2021 season, he is exploring offers and even willing to swap roles. If Fnatic thought that Felix would give them their best chance to win, and let's say he showed incredible promise, there really wouldn't be a reason for them to not give him a chance. And he did travel with the team to Worlds this year. He was their 6th roster spot. Who knows, he may have even scrimmed against the teams at Worlds, and he did get to play on the Super Chinese server. The thing about this entire situation that still is a bummer though, is that in his one and only chance, it wasn't even his fault that the team lost. He did probably as much as he could have that game. I still can't believe that maybe even one of the bottom tier LEC teams hasn't named him as a starter for 2021. Who knows what would happen if he was given at least one split to get comfortable. Maybe even TSM should have named him as a starter for next year. Technically, you can only go up from 0 and 6 at Worlds. He literally could not do worse than they did. It's been rumored multiple times that Felix is a shy guy. He's quite introverted and somewhat antisocial. However, these are Reddit rumors, and as you probably know, just because somebody said something on Reddit one time, that means it's instilled as fact and could never be challenged again. If you watch the interview that he did after his first game as a starter for Fnatic, he didn't seem like anything the rumors had said. He was no more awkward or shy than any other professional League of Legends esports player. But what I do know about Felix, and one thing that he could try to do more and work on, is developing a social media platform and a consistent stream. It might be a humble thing, or maybe it's his introverted nature, who knows other than him, but this guy is so humble that when he hit Challenger on all 5 roles in the game and did something that League of Legends players thought was impossible, he didn't even tweet it. If any part of that challenge was posted to his YouTube channel, or if he made guides about how he plays the game, I am sure that the community support would be phenomenal. The story of Magifelix is so interesting to me because of the resemblances he has to the other best solo queue player of all time. How did it just so happen that the 2 best and most accomplished solo queue players, Magifelix and Dopa, have never played at the World Championship or won a finals in their region? Both of these guys have shown that they can play every role in the game, play nearly every champion, and don't really have any weaknesses as a player. Yet, at the end of the day, what did we learn here? Solo queue and pro play are entirely different beasts. They're basically an entirely different game. You could be the single most accomplished solo queue player of all time. You could break infinite amounts of records. But maybe somebody can do your job at playing League of Legends better at the professional level. As a fan of League of Legends esports, there is only one thing that we should all be hoping for come 2021. Here's to Felix potentially getting another shot, and I bet he's more motivated than ever before. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and if you leave a like and subscribe, it would really help out with that YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.